Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers, and today we're going to talk a little bit about a quick overview of the hiring process. And there are several steps to it. It begins with you defining the role. This is something too many of us skip. We go someplace, we go to Craigslist, we copy somebody else's ad, we paste it on there, and then we get nothing like what we were looking for. Shocker! If you want to get an employee who fits well with your team and builds the culture you want, then you have to work to define that role very carefully and put together an ad that gets those people to apply. And sometimes I put out ads that are just a little bit weird, and you can see several examples on my blog. But the goal is to get somebody who fits well with your team and has the technical skills. If you write the ad carefully, you can put in things like send me a paragraph about blah blah blah, or require a Microsoft certification and send me the information I need to log into the Microsoft site and look at your transcripts. Anyone who doesn't do that, throw the resume away. Do not waste 1 second on it, because you're going to get 150 resumes and you're going to need to weed through them. So getting rid of people who can't follow instructions is a really good way to do that. So you begin to sort the resumes and you pick some candidates. I personally like to have a 1-minute phone call with them to just make sure that they can hold a conversation and that they really understand what the job is about, and then say, hey, we want to bring you in for an interview. I prefer to have 3 interviews in one day. So the first interview is a quick interview with the manager or the owner, and you score them, and then they go off and they're interviewed by 1 or more technicians. I really like to have 3, if you've got the staff, 3 or 4 technicians interview them, and you can have a set of questions that you ask them and say, okay, everybody pick one or the other, and there's a list of questions that only the manager or the supervisor ask. And then finally, the third interview is basically you all go to lunch and you take the candidate with you to lunch. They now are relaxed, they've kind of met you all, and that's where they might let their guard down, and you find out a little more about them. You also find out, are they funny? Do they like this and that? What their hobbies are? So forth. So again, you're trying to find a good fit with the team. The last thing you do with that candidate before you send them home is to give them homework. And we've got a standard question we ask that has to do with configuring firewalls, and it's very generic. It's a little bit difficult, but it's not impossible. And we don't really care if they get it right. We want to know what their thinking is. And you would be surprised at how many people never turn in that homework. All they have to write is 1 paragraph. If they can't do that, trust me, they can't document their work in your PSA. So then the manager scores the candidate, and each of the technicians who talk to them score the candidate, and even the people who just went to lunch scored the candidate. And you talk about it in a room and say, all right, where did you put this one? And most of the time you're going to agree on everything. And the interesting part is, why did I score them a 5 and you scored them a 1? Right? What's that about? What's going on there? And then you pick out the things where people may or may not be a good fit for your team. So you get all those scores, and finally you make an offer. And when you make an offer, it's very important that you say, hey, is there any reason that you can't show up Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.? Because at this point, if nobody's asked them that question, they have no reason to tell you that they have some big thing going on, or they have a commitment, or their mother's sick or whatever, and they have other commitments that they can't commit to the job that you want to offer them. So before you make that offer, you make sure that it's real clear, and you say, if we offered you this position, would you take it? Because what you want to avoid is people who come back to you immediately and say, oh, well, since I interviewed with you, I've had 3 other interviews, and now blah, 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 and I want more money. And you're like, okay, so start walking. Thanks for wasting my time, right? You want to clear out beforehand. Will you be able to take this job, and will you accept it? Some people make the argument that small businesses shouldn't have a process, and that's for big businesses and whatever. But at the end of the day, building your team is the most expensive thing you will ever do in your business, and it's the most important thing. If you build a great team, they will last forever, and they will be spectacular and allow you to get so much work done and provide really spectacular support. So I think it's important enough that you should put lots and lots of energy into building your team the right way. And your way might be different from mine, but you should have some kind of process. And with that, I wish you all the best in your managed service business.
you.